At first glance, it looks like this question is testing tense, right? I mean, we have past tense, we've got present tense is, we've got whatever has been is, so there's a lot of tense stuff, but we really don't want to think about that at first. We want to instead think about the singular versus plural of the verbs, because a lot of times that settles the tense question for us. This is something called verb agreement, and it's usually the way that the SAT is actually testing verbs. So the tense is a distraction because some people don't notice what's actually going on. The SAT kind of wants to distract you here. So when we think about singular and plural, we might start by just thinking about the words themselves. Is a singular verb, were is plural, has is singular, was is singular. Remember that singular verbs end in S, so has, was, and is all end in S. Now, what do we need to match with, right? What are we talking about? What is met with hostility? Okay, well, there's a lot of stuff in between, but immigrants are what we're talking about, and that is clearly plural, right? Many immigrants. And so that forces us to pick B. So it's not about tense at all. The only plural verb here is were, so that's the one we have to pick. It doesn't have to do with whether it's past tense or not. Past tense is definitely better, but I never really thought about that because the singular and plural thing solved it for me. And why do we know it's immigrants? Well, you can kind of try to turn it into a question like I did. What were met with hostility? Well, the immigrants were met with it, so that makes sense. The other thing here is that the real sentence is kind of immigrants are met with hostility, because this piece in between is really just extra information describing the immigrants. Specifically the from China and other parts of East Asia, that's a prepositional phrase, so we can eliminate that and just not even think about it as we're trying to find the subject of the verb, because subjects of verbs cannot be in prepositional phrases, and words like from and of, they tell us we're in a prepositional phrase, so they are something we can kind of ignore so that we can more easily understand the sentence and find the right subject. It's a tricky thing here. A lot of you may have just heard that B was going to be the right answer. That's great, but the SAT is going to be tricky about it, and they're going to try to mess with you, so it's really good to understand the rule so that when it gets really tricky, you're just as prepared to find the right answer.